welcome. I honestly don't remember what episode. Are we on episode 11?
I think it
I
might be,
think
no, it's 12.
12, yeah.
I think it's
Episode
12.
12 of the Balls Deep Cinema podcast. I've returned. I feel like I've been on a hiatus. And it feels like a disservice to, the people who are actually actively listening to us, for us, a lot of people who know us and whatnot, right? Friends and family. But I have returned. I am Stephen Raju. I'm here with my co-host Brandon Cortes, my co-host Jay Shatara. Boys, how are we doing today?
Doing really good. And Steve, never feel bad, man. The injury reserve list, I get it, man. You're injury prone. It happens. We
Yeah.
all it happens to two of us. I think each of us by now have missed at least what, two episodes maybe or sort. So
I also think the beauty of it is we all,
yeah,
we're all full-time employees elsewhere, that we kind of just do this for fun. And
right. Yeah.
we all watch different things. I think
Mhm.
Fall of the House of Usher, like Steve, I know you didn't watch it, so it wouldn't have made sense to hop on that episode. So, it's nice that we can all
Mhm.
talk about different things. And that's the beauty of having three people, right?
Yeah. Squad duff, in sports, you both know this very well. Squad duff goes a long way. And
Well, yes, no, I will say the injury prone analysis was it's a fair way to put it. I can honestly appreciate you boys holding it down
no,
while
of
I,
course
while I
not.
was out. And I was really excited to come back and start recording again because obviously due to the strikes being over,
Mhm.
with the Writers Guild and the Screen Actors Guild, we're starting to see a lot of content pump out.
Mhm.
We're starting to see a bunch of TV show trailers, actors finally getting back on the forefront, doing tell-alls, interviewing each other.
Yeah.
And of course, we're starting to see some more announcements,
Mhm.
with movies and TV. So it's a lively time right now. And this past weekend, we saw a barrage, and I mean a barrage of new content come out. And we're here to get into it.
Yeah.
We're here to talk about all the new great trailers that came out, particularly within TVs and movies.
Mhm.
And really, we're going to give you our thoughts and just get right into it. So, um, what we're going to do today is we gave each of these new trailers that we selected individual scores on terms of our hype meter, how we feel about it in terms of hype. Is it going to be on the high end? Are we really feeling it, or is it
Mhm.
going to be, yeah, maybe some mid? But we're going to get into it with our first one. I would like to talk about the new Godzilla trailer. So I'm looking at the scores right now.
Yeah.
And so for those who know, the Godzilla versus Kong, the new Empire trailer, came out this past weekend.
Mhm.
I can see here, Jay, you gave that trailer a 8 out of 10. Brandon, you gave that
Mhm.
trailer a 3 out of 10.
Yep.
And I gave the trailer a 9 out of 10. Brandon, we got to start with you.
All right.
Godzilla versus Kong. This is the motion picture cinema event of potentially the
I
century,
I
and it's
think it
on
might
and it's
be.
on your it's
I
on your shitter list. What's going
It
on?
is. Yeah. So I can say it. In terms of what this movie, in terms of what Legendary as the studio is going for, they're going for the blockbuster. They're going for, the popcorn, movie dates, right? That you just want to go see action. Just enjoy this movie. It's going for entertainment, right? And let's go back a little bit back in time, right? Movies were made to entertain us. And that's what I believe we're gonna get out of this movie. I mean, that's what we got out of Godzilla Kong, the first one. It's just silly to see the cinematic universe, right? Because if we go back to Godzilla 2014, I know Steve, you're a great fan of this movie too. We almost saw a little bit of a horror aspect with Godzilla, kind of going more of, hey, that is the monster that we're seeing in the movie. A little bit more on the serious tone, which I get. Some things are for some people, some things aren't. I think seeing the evolution of a more traditional Godzilla movie to a movie where King Kong has the Infinity Gauntlet and they're both running together. I don't think I've ever laughed so hard. And I just don't know where this movie's going. I don't know where the cinematic universe is going. And I think it's not even the next, because I was excited for Godzilla vs. Kong. And I was. I remember being back in 2019, 2020, super pumped for it. It's just more of the direction. I really don't know where this is going. I think it's turning more to something silly when seeing two big monsters run. Yeah, I don't know. I'm expecting a Fast and Furious saga where all these creatures and Vin Diesel, cross paths at some point.
I see
Jay,
Steve
Jay, let's
shaking
hear.
his head because I love Fast and Furious, and
Hold on. I love Fast and Furious too at a certain point, and then it just loses me. So I get where you're coming from, Brandon. But
Yeah.
Jay, you gave it a 8 out of 10.
yeah.
Let's hear your thoughts.
So it's funny. I gave it an 8 out of 10 because of what Brandon kind of said. I don't really know the direction of the movie.
Hmm.
It seems like Godzilla and
Yep.
Kong are teaming up.
Hmm.
There's Baby Kong. I mean, there's all these different elements, but
Yep.
I think it's a little unfair because if you go back to like the 1960s Japanese claymation Godzilla movies,
Hmm.
you
Yep.
know, there's a million of them. Go on HBO Max right now and
Hmm.
type in Godzilla. There's like 50 movies. It's like
Right.
Godzilla versus
Yeah.
Mothra, Godzilla versus King Ghidorah, like Mecha Godzilla versus Godzilla, which was the plot of the last movie. Like, there's
Yep.
so many, right? So I think it's a little unfair to say there's too many of them because now they're just making them modern. The reason I said 8 out of 10 though is because I just don't know the direction of this movie. Where do we go? I was a big
Hmm.
fan of Godzilla 2014.
Hmm. Yep.
This whole idea of Godzilla kind of just being an anti-hero in a weird way.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then I thought King of the Monsters or whatever that one was, the second one, it lost the plot a little. And then they kind of Kong Skull Island, right? I love that they took a direction of um, not the typical King Kong story where he goes on the Empire State Building like Peter Jackson's, which I love. I love Peter Jackson's
Hmm.
King Kong, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it's the classic story. He climbs the Empire State Building and he fights the dinosaurs. I like that this version was a little more um I don't want to say grounded in reality, but they're tying it into the universe.
Hmm.
I remember watching Godzilla 2014, and the big thing that they were hyping up was this big fight against Kong, right? So we finally get that in 2020. I literally called in sick to work to go watch that movie. Like I was so excited for it, and I think
Yep.
it's something similar with this one. It's just, I mean, you're
Yep.
going into it, you're not
Yep.
looking for Oscar-worthy content, right? We're going into it looking to see some CGI monsters beat the hell out of each other.
Which
That's
does
what
look pretty good, though. I do have to say, which does look pretty good.
And I thought
Yeah.
it looked really good in the
Hmm.
last movie when
Yep.
Godzilla and Kong fight. I thought it looked really realistic. So
Hmm.
I'm excited for this too because now they're teaming up. So it's just one of those action porn movies, right? Like
Yep.
I'm not going into it for award-winning content. I'm going into it for some cool
Hmm.
special effects, and really just like typical monster behavior, right? So
Yeah. So I gave it a 9 out of 10. First things I want to point out, love Godzilla 2014. Aaron Taylor Johnson and Elizabeth Olsen, the Quicksilver Scarlet Witch, in
Yep.
this movie, a couple. Also directed by Gareth Edwards, director of Rogue One, I believe.
yep.
So I
Hmm.
really like that movie. Even as far as kaiju movies go, I wouldn't say it's a top tier kaiju movie, but it's a great movie. I think it's entertaining. Enjoys
Hmm.
Skull Island.
Hmm.
Uh, really like that one, and of course, love the Peter Jackson version as well. And I really enjoyed 2020. I believe it's 2020,
Hmm.
Godzilla versus Kong, because I remember specifically that movie came out during the pandemic,
Yep.
and we had an simultaneous HBO Max release with
Hmm.
that as
Yep.
well. So it
Hmm.
released in theaters and in HBO Max, and actually made quite a bit of money in theaters, even
Yep.
during 2021. I would imagine. Um, and the one thing I loved about that movie, other than the fact that we got to see Kong and Godzilla on the big screen together, in a modern format, and with some really great fighting scenes, really great action scenes. One of my favorite things about Godzilla versus Kong was Kong discovering, I believe it's his homeworld,
Yeah.
that dimension where he got to explore. Is it his homeworld though? I want to make sure I'm quoting it right. Well, do you guys have an accurate depiction of what that was? Basically,
Yeah,
like
I'm
Middle
pretty
Earth.
sure it was supposed to be the home world for like all the kaiju and monsters like that.
Yeah. I thought him exploring that area, him seeing,
Hmm.
basically what his origins are and kind of traversing through it. I thought it was quite beautiful, honestly. And I thought it was
Yeah.
really, I remember
Yeah.
watching that and I was thinking, I'm really actually happy they're going this route in terms of exploring something that we're not typically used to in a kaiju movie.
Hmm.
In the big, Godzilla, obviously 2014, King Kong and the Jordan Vokes Roberts one in 2017, I believe, or 2018. Um, those obviously dealt with more of a people in this jungle, people in the
Mhm.
city are gonna get fucked up, right? They're gonna get destroyed. You're gonna see a lot of devastation and destruction. And while we do see that in 2021's Godzilla versus Kong, those other movies never really got into something as nuanced as exploring the home world of Kong and trying to understand his origins. And I know that sounds stupid, right? You just really want to see these movies for the pure bombastic nature of it between, two kaijus fighting, or Godzilla's king of the monsters there. He's fighting like six or
Yeah,
seven different ones. But
right.
I do think with Godzilla versus Kong, us seeing that homeworld, seeing Kong explore this really vast and rich area of his homeworld, and um, I thought that was one of my favorite parts about that movie. And I think, is it kind of milking and doing the more MCU
Yeah.
type of, hey, let's have a cinematic universe over this? Of course, they're
Mhm.
doing that. But
Mhm.
I personally, just based off the last movie, I'm really interested to see it based off this trailer. I love to see, the different areas that they're going to be exploring, the different monsters, the different types of maybe King Kong's lineage in this movie, with different types of apes as well.
Yeah.
Maybe a different take on maybe an evolved version of Godzilla as well. We're seeing it with a diller color palette potentially. But the reason
Yep.
I gave it a 9 out of 10 is because I know this movie is going to be a great time. Now
Mhm.
people may call me a hypocrite because Fast and Furious is a movie that's, I admit, is a great time, and I admit
Yeah.
is a good theater experience. I just loathed it for what it's become. But for what I know of this Godzilla and Kong movie that's going to be coming
Yep.
out, it still has going to have, in my opinion, the same heart and soul of what we're used to from the 2017 Kong movie, the 2014 Godzilla movie. It's going to still
Yeah.
have these monsters tearing shit up, fucking shit up, doing it in a really fun way. And now we're going to get some backdrop into, hey, these monsters and these different types of monsters. Maybe we can explore a little bit of where they've come from,
Yep.
this different area. And so I'm really interested in that. I'm really interested in that.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on this
Hey
trailer
man,
before we move on?
Infinity Gauntlet, Kong. Just I need to know more about that.
I wonder if he's going to bring back
Yeah.
the battle axe. That axe was badass
That's
in the last
right.
movie,
That's right.
and I
I will say one of the
Yeah.
I like this part. It's also kind of one of the most stupidest parts of Godzilla versus Kong is at the end when they're fighting Mecha Kong, and these are literally like fucking like animals. These are literally like these are they're not like humans, right? Their
Yeah.
ability to like as a human, Jay, if I'm working with you, I could like without telling you, I could help you out in some sort of way
yeah,
because
yeah.
we're sentient like that. And we have Godzilla, who notices that Kong is getting fucked up by Mecha Kong, but immediately knows, hey, I'm gonna shoot my beam at his axe and charge his axe. Like, how does he like? I'm like, Godzilla is either a smart ass motherfucker or he's secretly human or something. Because I was like, how the hell? How are they working together like this?
Well,
But I
I
think,
just
it'll
yeah.
be fun to see in this movie.
I
They
just
can
will
get on
leave it
that.
on this point. If you've ever seen the movie Pacific Rim, which is another one of these dumb action movies, right? Suspend your belief
Guillermo
type
del
movie.
Toro.
And yeah, exactly. And you know, they kind of talk about how the kaiju brain works and how they're smart and they're making battle plans with each other to take over
Hmm.
the world. So maybe this is kind of similar, right? Like Godzilla is more than an animal in terms of his instinct, his hunting. But again, you got to suspend your belief in these kinds of movies, and that's just what they've become.
That's very true. Yeah.
It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Next one we're gonna talk about. Let's talk about House of Dragon.
Mhm.
Now I'll go ahead and give my full disclosure. I have not seen season one of House and Dragon. I will say I'm a big Game of Thrones guy.
Mhm.
Was from the 2010s to the 2020s, was glued on to that show.
Mhm.
Loved that show very much. Was a bit disappointed by the ending of the show. I think a lot of people were. Although I didn't hate it. It's hard to end shows, correct, any show really.
Mhm.
You had your complaints about Sopranos, you had the complaints about Lost, and I think Game of Thrones kind of suffered that same thing, but it's hard to do. But I'll give you guys the floor to go ahead and expand on your ratings. Jay, I saw you gave this a 9 out of 10, so you are the highest score here. Oh no, actually that's gonna be Brandon. He gave it a 10 out of 10. Why don't we start with Brandon then? Brandon, you gave it the highest score, 10 out of 10. This is a lock and
Yeah.
load hit for you. Let's hear your reasons why.
Hey, there we go. Just starting off first time again. All right. It's I love the hell out of the show, man. I was very like what you mentioned, Steve. It was very much Game of Thrones. Every season till the final season. Season 7 was it?
Mhm.
Everything was perfect. I believe it was perfect until the last season. I'm not mad at the decisions that happened about that show and its finale. I'm just more about the progress to it, right? I felt like in order to have that reward in a scene, right, the decisions that these characters make, you need to kind of lead more to it. But I mean, I'll digress from there. Season 1 of House of Dragon, I thought really helped recover that. It really helped recover that faith for a lot of Game of Thrones fans. The show was slow at times, but I felt like everything progressed really, really well. Yes, there were some skips in years and decades. I know some people might have complained about that. I really didn't mind it at all. I felt like it did it really well. Just the way that show ended in a very oh shit moment. I
Mhm.
think it was close enough to the Red Wedding where I was like, I was speechless. I don't know. It's just not much to say. It's just more. I'm pumped and I'm excited to see how much darker, how much more brutal the show's gonna go.
Thank
I
you for
think
not spoiling, by the way.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is a spoiler-free review here, but I think it was just classic
Yeah,
Thrones. Like
yeah,
you go into it and there's everything you love about Game of Thrones. It's great dialogue, great writing, there's betrayal, there's and you see it all unfold. It kind of reminded me of what we didn't get. Just like you both said, I didn't hate the ending of
yeah,
Thrones. I
mhm,
hated how rushed it was.
yeah, yeah,
Because classic Thrones, classic betrayal, classic stuff, like you see it unfold over a
mhm,
10 episode season, and those last two seasons were like 8 and 6 episodes, which just didn't do it justice. This where we get back to the 10 episode format where you can kind of go into episode 9 and 10 expecting something like crazy to happen to end the season, and that's exactly what happens. I
yeah,
also thought it was just some world-class performances. Matt Smith was unbelievable in the show, and
yeah.
it's crazy because he's coming off the heels of Morbius, which he was an absolute meme in. I mean, they were TikTok videos of his dance scene in Morbius going viral because it was so cringy. And then he turns around and I'm pretty sure he won an Emmy for it actually for his performance. So or at least he was nominated. I mean, he was
Mhm,
fantastic in this show. Classic Game of Thrones writing, like I said, betrayal, and the plot really divulges. I didn't mind the time jump. I thought the time jump was actually really well done
yeah,
in terms
I
of
agree.
now seeing these characters go from kids to full-fledged adults. And it's funny because there's a turning point in the season. It starts a little slow, and then something happens. And again, spoiler free, so I'm not going to say it. Something happens that really like you're like, okay, I see where they're going with this, and I see where everything's
Hmm.
going to go to crap because it's just I don't know. It just reminded me of what we had in seasons 1 through 6. I personally think
Yeah.
season 6 of Game of Thrones is the best TV we've ever gotten, like ever.
Hmm.
There's just so much that happens, and it's so well written. And this felt close to that. I'm not going to go as far to say it's one of the best seasons ever in TV, but I mean, there's just a lot of fun stuff that happens in this show,
Hmm.
and I'm really curious to see where they go with it in the second season. Now, I know they're based off source material. I truthfully haven't read any of the books for
Hmm.
this prequel series, so I'm kind of excited. I remember watching Game of Thrones live, and to the point where the books were finished, people were spoiling what happens
Yeah.
because it was already in the book. So I'm kind of hoping we don't run into that again. But I'm really excited for the second season. I truthfully wanted to go 10 out of 10, but um, I think I know how HBO shows go. I'm expecting a slow start to the season, and then it's probably just going to turn up again like it always does. So this should be really
Hmm.
really good. I don't know how many seasons this prequel series has signed on for because I also know they just announced the Jon Snow show that they want to do, which is going to
Mhm.
be after the
Hmm.
events of Game of Thrones. So I mean, I'm excited for that because I love Kit Harington and excited to see him come back in this role. So I don't know how long this series is going to go on for. Obviously, we probably know the end result because it's a prequel, and if you're familiar with the lore of Game of Thrones, you're probably thinking, okay, like certain people eventually have to die, right? Like that's just how
Hmm.
it goes.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. I think I'm really excited for this. Out of all the shows we're going to review today, the trailers we're going to review today, it's the one I'm probably most excited for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that Jon Snow show, I'm very interested in it because it's a sequel, obviously, to the events of Game of Thrones. Um, they do have a bunch of other spinoffs, in the works potentially. They were thinking about doing I believe it was a Blood Moon, Game of
Mhm.
Thrones show that was supposed to be at the time of the creation of the White Walkers, I believe.
Mhm.
But that got canceled. We might see a 10,000 Ships a show. But I personally would love to see the Jon Snow show come out. And
Mhm.
obviously, with the Targaryens, like you mentioned, we kind of know, for those who know Game of Thrones lore, we know what happens to them. So, but it seems like the show's doing a great job, House of Dragon, of still keeping it suspenseful,
Yeah.
keeping it entertaining. There's a lot you could do with the Targaryens, in terms of their content, and really, whether it's the Lannisters as well, the Starks. There's a lot of potential, lore-based TV shows that HBO could do.
Mhm.
And it's interesting to see what they'll have. But it seems like, obviously HBO's House of the Dragon's off to a great start, and I
Mhm.
saw it garnered a bunch of views, this trailer.
Mhm.
So it's
Yeah.
it's definitely, Game of Thrones is still strong in people's minds. So um,
And I'll just
go
to
ahead.
end it on this note is, I think when you're watching Game of Thrones, right, you hear so much about the Targaryens and you hear about their dragons. Seeing
Mhm.
it now on the screen is so cool. Like there's so many
Yep.
dragons, and
Oh yeah.
you see how they kind of came into power because no one could have defeated that many dragons. So it's really cool to kind of see that aspect of it because you heard about it so much in Thrones. Now you're seeing it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, great. Let's move on to another show that was announced by Amazon Prime. It is the Fallout TV series. And for those who
Mhm.
don't know, this TV series is based on the hit video game, Fallout. Fallout 1, 2, 3, 4, big
Mhm.
hits. You could play them on any platform. I grew up on these games. Um, I will go ahead and pass it off to Mr. We'll do Jay this time, because Jay, I want to get your thoughts, and I don't want to keep starting with Brandon. But you gave this a 5 out of 10. It differs from my score. Spoiler alert for everyone listening. Um, but 5 out of 10. Let's hear it. What are you worried about with the show?
And I don't want to. I want to preface that I didn't give it a 5 out of 10 because it was a bad trailer. I actually loved the trailer. I'm giving it a 5 out of 10 because it's really hard to adapt video game to screen. I remember when The
Mhm.
Last of Us came out. I had played the first Last of Us. I still have yet to play part two, but I was so excited for this show because like I knew going into it. I've never played Fallout, truthfully, so I
Mhm.
don't know what the show is about. All I know is obviously we're in like a or post-apocalyptic society. There's monsters and there's robots and things like that. So I just don't know what the show's about. And I
Mhm.
know in the past we've had some bad renditions of video game to show slash movie. So I am optimistic because it's Prime.
Mhm.
They do a great job with the boys. I've never watched Invincible, but obviously it gets great reviews. I thought what's the Lord of the Rings prequel, Rings of
Rings of Power.
Power, was decent. I thought they kind of fell flat a little towards the end, but overall, another really good show that they did. So I'm confident if anyone can get this right, it's Amazon Prime because they are knocking their TV shows out of the park right now. That being said, I just don't know enough about the show. I think it's going to be one of those shows that I'll give it a few episodes to drop. I'll read some
Mhm.
reviews and I'm sure we'll review it. So maybe I'll be
Yeah.
forced to watch it because of that. So uh I don't know. I'm not super excited for it because it's something I just truthfully don't know much about. But it does look really cool, and I will say I saw the pictures of some of the characters. They look really cool, and I'm excited to sort of see the set design and the costume
Mhm.
design and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Brandon,
And
your score, you
yeah.
gave it looks like a 8 out of 10.
Yeah. It's in a way it's gonna sound weird. Everything that Jay said, I agree with, but in a way it kind of like tip tops because in a way I'm looking forward to it. I've never played the video game. I'm going in open minded. I think it looks beautiful. I think the world building looks incredible. So far every character just looks interesting, right? And I look forward to characters that can kind of bring me in, and I kind of see that. And I hope they go into the aspect of how the world ended, kind of like how The Last of Us did, right? With that first episode going taking us back to 2003. I'm hoping it kind of takes us because it does give a little bit of that when you see the city of Los Angeles, but with the bomb explosions. Never played the video game, and I'm okay going in completely blind.
Mhm.
But you're right, Jay. There is that risk of a video game jumping to the risk of will it adapt well, right? But it like you mentioned, if there's any studio that can do it, Amazon might be the way to go. I don't know. I'm excited to go in blind. I think it looks beautiful. I trust that, like The Boys has been really amazing, and I'm kind of going in with that mind that these same creators are the ones going into this show.
And real quick, Steve, before you go into it, I maybe I'm getting a little bit of a vibe of Halo here. For those who don't know, Halo Season 2 is on Paramount Plus, and we haven't heard a thing about it.
Yep.
That is one of the most popular video games of all time.
Right.
That a lot of people thought this show was just going to kill it and knock it out the park. And we have, I mean, there's a second season, and how many people actually knew about it. So
Yeah.
I hope this doesn't fall into that realm because this does look really good.
Yep, and I will give my thoughts on the new Fallout trailer and the rest of the shows right after the break. All right, everybody, welcome back. We were talking about the new Fallout trailer for Amazon Prime. So going back to my score, and of course we don't have it up here, but going back to my score, I gave it a 10 out of 10. And I am really excited about this show because I love Fallout. I played Fallout 3, played Fallout 4, played the old ones back in the day as well. There's a certain special place in my heart for the Fallout games. The exploration of this vast wasteland that is that post-apocalyptic environment. There's a lot of heart behind the games that Bethesda made. The storylines weren't always the most intricate, I would say, despite the fact that you did have such an interesting world. But there was always great things happening. The side stories were always great, the side missions. And the world that they put you in is really immersive. It's fun, and I enjoyed playing the games, and I always enjoyed the lore behind Fallout as well, because there's a very expansive lore with these games. And the one thing I will say that made me give it a 10 is the fact that this show is being ran it's not only being produced by Amazon, but it's also being produced by Jonathan Nolan, who originally produced the Westworld TV show. And for those who did like Westworld, I loved Westworld, particularly the first two seasons.
Yeah.
And if Fallout has this type of talent who did that type of show, and there's a similar framework going on with Westworld and Fallout, and I think they'll expand on kind of the similarities once we do see the show come out. But there's a lot that can be done great with Jonathan Nolan running the helm. It's going to have a very prestige TV vibe to it, I think, and I hope so, because I felt like Westworld, what benefited from it was that prestige TV vibe it had. And the fact that we're watching a very intricate, obviously Westworld, very complicated show sometimes, right? But at the same time, I think we can get that same quality of show with less difficult in terms of our understanding of and the way it weaves around than what Westworld was. So I'm super excited. I love the trailer. Walter Goggins going to play a ghoul. It is just perfect casting. And they're also saying that this show is canon to the games. So I think we'll see some storylines branch out from other video games, maybe seep into this world. And overall, I think it's a type of show where I think the story is nuanced enough and also has its own uniqueness. This is Fallout. There's isn't a lot of IPs really that similar to it out there. And so with that, I think we're getting a treat, honestly. And I love that it's on Amazon. But yeah, let's go on to another Amazon show, The Boys. And we'll start with Jay in terms of your hype meter. Whatever your rating may be. But let's just talk about what you thought about the trailer. How you feel about The Boys in general.
Let me tell you, The Boys has become probably one of my favorite shows of all time. I think for a lot of people, it is. I mean, they just get it, right? Like they're satirical. And this season seems to really be taking kind of like a South Park approach of like, we're going to go by current events, right?
Mhm.
and Homelander is going to be Trump, and
Mhm.
it just I'm so excited for this. I think I put on my last rating or hype, whatever, maybe 10 out of 10 because I mean I love the boys. Boys is again, they just kind of understand satire. They understand how to make fun of celebrities and political leaders and things like that. So, we're going to see truly, truly unhinged Homelander this season. I love that they're kind of showing his gory side. There's a scene in the trailer where he's just drenched in blood. He's probably just killed someone or lasered their brains. Spoiler alert for those who didn't see the last season. I think of that scene where the girl's ready to kill herself and he's like, oh, I'm just here, I'm just gonna fly and save you anyways, and then he makes her die anyways because he's like fed up with people. And then the closing scene of that season where he just straight up annihilates a guy and everyone just cheers him on, and they're clearly taking the approach of I think Donald Trump in 2016. And it was like not even like they just cheered him on, right? So I think this is the approach they're going to take, and I'm really, 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 really excited for it. The Boys is just a show that gets gore, it gets action. I've always loved the idea of like the superheroes in corporate America, right? And if you guys haven't seen Gen V, I actually just started Gen V. I'm about a couple episodes in, and apparently that's going to end and lead up right to the start of this season. So maybe Gen V is our next big show we need to watch because apparently a lot of the elements in Gen V are going to lead right into the season of this new season of The Boys. So I'm super excited to see how that all kind of ties into each other. This trailer got me so excited because I just know it's going to be hilarious, like on every front. Carl Urban, I mean, just one of the best actors in Hollywood, one of the most underrated actors in Hollywood. And I'm excited to see him return with Jack Quaid and everyone. This is going to be, I think, a really really fun season. There's so many storylines that we left off in the last season. Annie, another big part of this. So I'm really really excited for this.
Yeah, no, I
Brandon,
can
your
say
thoughts?
yeah, I did finish Gen V. I'm not gonna go into spoilers, but yes, it does go really well into the start of whatever season 4 is gonna be. No, I love everything about this. How stupid the show goes for it. The comedy of it, the references, how gross and gory it goes. This is a show that I feel like the writers are not afraid of anything.
Mhm.
I feel like it's one of those things where it's like producers are like, hey, fuck it, whatever you feel like writing, just go for it. Just
Yep.
make it make sense in a way and it's gonna work. And I believe it does work. I just love, like Jay said, it's just so unhinged. It's a show that just really goes for it. It makes sense. It does reference real world events, which are kind of scary, right? And it shows like what these real world events are, but just in a world where superheroes are all, corporate uh just chess pieces, right, by the government. So I'm excited to see where the show goes. I'm excited to see some of these Gen V characters, which uh, weren't at all in the trailer. So I'm excited to see them possibly just be a bit of a surprise, or I can even see the possibility where we don't really touch upon them at all, and then maybe we go into them towards the end of the season. And eventually, I do know, I believe season 4 will then go into season 2 of Gen V, and I believe from there go back to the boys. So I'm excited to see all these characters mix in. Jay, Steve, I'm excited to see you guys finish Gen V, and let me know what you guys think about that. But no, Steve, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I need to watch Gen V because I've actually heard great things about it, like fantastic things. And
Mhm.
I think the boys have done a great job of just creating such a really interesting world,
Mhm.
with really interesting characters apart from, the actual team of the boys and
Yep.
the actual um Homelander and all them. They have a lot of gravitas in this world, and
Mhm.
with a lot of goodwill from fans, they can really make a lot of
Mhm.
things work. Spin-off
Yep.
shows, obviously they've done animated shows and with Gen V.
Yep.
So, it's great to see that they're expanding the world. Um, Jay, you make a great point. I mean, with the last season, I really felt like they are really dipping into the satirical TV show type of mold. I felt like the first two seasons, we were kind of getting there. It was still held true to a superhero versus supervillain show, right? Which I think has now evolved to a show that deals with ego, deals with personalities, deals with you know just human emotion, right? And then on a larger level, it deals with our society. It deals with our political affiliations, right? Last season they did a show where they went there and they touched upon Black Lives Matter. They touched upon
Mhm.
the racist superhero,
I was
right?
gonna say they even, I mean, they made fun of the COVID video,
Yeah,
the
we'll
deep,
be this and this together.
yeah, they made fun of, they
Yeah.
made fun of the
Uh,
Kylie Jenner Pepsi commercial. I mean, they
yeah,
are not afraid to just that's why I
yeah,
say they're kind of becoming like this South Park
yeah,
Matt Parker, Stone,
yeah,
Parker and Stone, like where they're not afraid to go for it. Like Brandon said,
yeah.
no one's safe. You will get made fun of.
Yeah, and also, with that, with the satirical elements of it, we're still getting the great fight scenes. We're still getting great, obviously superhero moments because it's a superhero, supervillain show, but it's becoming more of that. It's evolving into something that, I'm really interested to see. I'm really interested to see how deeper they get. I have a
Yeah.
feeling we might see some, with Homelander's evolving into a Trump-like character. We're going to see them, I think, push the envelope. And I think it's just a breath of fresh air that they're not too concerned about the reaction from, either end of the spectrum. They're focused on making an interesting TV show and at
Mhm.
this point, they're really focused on, I think what's driving this show to being unique in our modern lexicon of society is
Mhm.
that they want to they want to portray the society as what it is and make
Mhm.
that the talking point of the show. They want people talking about the boys on how transformative it
Mhm.
is as a
Yeah.
superhero show. The fact that they can touch upon these topics, the
Mhm.
fact that they will make fun of both political parties,
Mhm.
that they will mirror certain political figures and big name figures, and not only political, really. They essentially center the whole um the serum. What is the serum they inject their heroes with? What is it called again? Is it Gen V? It's
It's the V, yeah.
the
Yeah.
V. Yeah, they basically center that whole company that Homelander is assigned to as a pharmaceutical company, and they touch
Mhm.
upon the big pharma aspect of it.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Obviously with the Deep when he in back in season 2 when he basically joined a cult, right?
Yeah.
They really go for it.
Yeah.
They really go for it. I gave it a 9 out of 10. I'm super excited.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean Anthony Starr, I mean he's killing it. This Homelander,
Yeah.
killing it right now.
Hmm.
So we got one more show to talk about. Actually, I think we're going to be talking about a video game. We're
Well,
talking
we have
about
a movie real quick before
We
we
have a
jump
movie
into
and
it.
video game. Yeah.
Yeah,
okay, yeah.
Furiosa.
Furiosa, yes. So for those who don't know, there is this director named George Miller. He has been directing, longer than we've been alive, number
Hmm.
one. Director of the Christopher Reeve Superman trilogy, not only trilogy, but 4 movies, right?
Mhm.
Classic movies. Um, and also the director of Mad Max
And Happy
and
Feet.
Happy Feet. Thank you. Also the director of a unreleased Justice League movie, which would have been quite
Mm,
interesting.
yeah.
I believe we would have gotten Army Hammer as Batman. Would have
Wow.
been
Okay.
would have been
That would have been
interesting to
it
see
would
a
have been interesting
cannibalistic
these days.
Batman.
Okay.
That's right. That's right.
But yes, George Miller. One of the greatest directors of our time. He's directed these Mad Max movies, all the way back to the late 70s, with
Mhm.
Mel Gibson in the title role. Um, and obviously even Mel Gibson's too much for George Miller because they rebooted the series with Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron back in, I believe, 2014 now. It was quite a bit ago.
2015, yeah.
Yeah.
2015. And it was a huge success. And for those who have seen the movie, it's a visual achievement, and that's the one thing you'll get at George Miller. He knows how to make a very distinct and beautiful looking movie.
Yeah.
But that, Mad Max movie, they're coming out with a prequel, Furiosa, starring Anya Taylor-Joy and Chris Hemsworth. Boys, we'll start with Brandon. Your thoughts on the trailer? How familiar are you with the Mad Max series, and are
Yeah.
you excited for it?
Yeah, no, no, no. Really, really great intro into that. And I do want to highlight George Miller, just how long he's been doing this, right? We kind of you just look at it, just the achievement of directing for that long, being able to stay to do the achievements he's done from the 70s all the way to modern day, right? With the most recent Mad Max movie. Being just completely fair, like being just honest, I've never been too big into the Mad Max series. And it's not something out of something I'm just not interested. It's just something that's really not come along my way for me to be like, let me sit down and watch them. But I could say I've at one point in my life, I've never seen any of the Mission Impossibles. I've never seen any of the James Bond. One day I just sat down and watched all of these and fell in love with both of those separate series, right? I fell in love with both those that series, and I feel like that could potentially be me with Mad Max. Maybe I just need to sit down, focus on it. It looks like a great movie. It's I don't know about you guys, but it felt the CGI. Not that it looks bad, but it looks almost animated in a way, and I don't know if that's the decision making of the directing, or if that just literally comes down to some of these CGI artists that aren't paid that
I
well.
will say,
Yeah. Hmm.
I think it's more of a George Miller aesthetic,
Is
and
okay. Yeah.
with the trailer,
Yeah.
it may look a little clunky, but
Yeah.
at least what I saw from Mad Max in 2015, that was one of
Yeah.
the most
Yeah.
crazily
Hmm.
visual movies I've ever seen. So I'd be a little hopeful for it.
Yeah, no, and it's not, and it comes down to me just not knowing a lot about it, right? So that's why it's out of all these uh series slash movies that we're reviewing the trailers for, it's almost the least interested or the one that I'm least like focused on that I know like at some point it will probably be a movie that I'm gonna sit down at one point and do watch. I do love Anya Taylor-Joy. I do love Chris Hemsworth. So I know there are two names that do make me excited for this movie.
You know, it's one of those things. When I
Hmm.
was kind of researching
Hmm.
Mad Max after this trailer came out, and
Hmm.
you had, I think, shared it, Steve.
Hmm.
Um, you know, I was a little surprised to see he had done the three movies in the '80s because I feel like a lot of trilogies, right? They don't have the same directors. Star Wars is one of the biggest offenders of
Hmm.
this. Star Wars has
Yeah.
three different directors amongst the original trilogy, three different directors in the prequels,
Hmm.
and there's, you know, kind of the czar of George Lucas, right?
Hmm.
This is one of the situations where he's now doing his fifth movie, I believe. I believe this is the fifth one he's about
I
to do.
believe so. Yes. Yeah.
Uh, I have never seen a single Mad Max movie, but Fury Road is so high regarded amongst the film community. People
Hmm.
love this movie, the special effects, the story. I took a film appreciation class in 2015, and I remember my professor raving about Fury Road.
Yeah.
So I mean, like this is a movie that a lot of people absolutely love. And like Brandon said, maybe I just need to sit down and actually give it a watch because I am curious. I put a 3 out of 10 for my excitement level on this one, mostly because
Hmm.
I don't know about Mad Max and they're never anything I've been
Yep.
interested in. I've never been interested in these movies, but you know, maybe it just takes me sitting down to watch one.
Hmm.
Listen, some of the greatest trilogies. I'm thinking Lord of the Rings, right? Peter Jackson, and then and Dune,
Hmm.
which I'm so excited for this second Dune movie to come out, and eventually the third. It's going to be Dennis Villeneuve all the way through. Like I like the consistency of one
Yep.
director,
I agree. I
writing
agree.
team. Probably going to keep the same actors in terms of like Tom Hardy if it wasn't a prequel. So I mean, I'm really excited to see how this is going to tie in. I'll
Hmm.
probably eventually sit down and watch Fury Road, and then you know, in preparation of this movie, so I can be ready for it. So you know, I'm willing to give it a chance just because of
Hmm.
how highly regarded it is. But
Yep.
and truthfully, I don't know much about the series.
Do your homework, boys. Watch at least one of the movies. I recommend Fury Road, but it should be
Yep.
fun. But yes, let's go into Grand Theft Auto 6. Trailer leaked. It was supposed to release today, but it
Mm,
actually leaked last night because, I mean, quite frankly, this is one of the biggest pieces of anticipated pieces of content
yeah.
probably in the last 10, 20 years. Currently broke YouTube's record in terms of views on a movie or on a trailer for a
Mm,
91-second trailer. And it's got over 100 million views.
Hmm.
It is quite bonkers. I think the weight that Grand Theft Auto still has on the world, not
Hmm.
just the gaming community, on the world. Grand Theft Auto 5 released, 10 years ago. And they were able to, with their online platform, obviously maintain a strong community with Grand Theft Auto. And obviously people during that time were demanding, hey, can we get a GTA 6? But nonetheless, they were still playing Grand Theft Auto 5, and I think that contributes to what we're seeing right now, which is a very, very huge demand from
Hmm.
Rockstar Games, and this Grand Theft Auto series. We're back in Vice City, right? It's our
Yep.
Miami replica, of course. And based on what I saw, this is a trailer that we're gonna get some photorealistic gameplay.
Hmm.
Um, I think it's similar to The Boys in a way, where it has a satirical view of the world in a way, in terms of some of the storyline points. The way it kind of makes fun of society. We see a
Hmm.
lot of social media use,
Yep.
and I
Hmm.
think
Yep.
it's a smartly written series ever since, even the early games, and it's always been very smart in its execution on how it wants to portray its world, how it wants to portray its everyday society, because it just drops you into everyday society. Really enjoyed the trailer, even though it was only 91 seconds. I think we're gonna see maybe like a Bonnie and Clyde type of dynamic between these two main characters. And so yeah,
Hmm.
I mean, Grand Theft Auto, it's among us. We're hitting a new era. Brandon, what are your
Yep.
thoughts? You big GTA guy?
I'm not. I stopped gaming back in 2012. Sad story, but my PS3 broke that year. I remember that very well. From there, I know I was big. I was big into Assassin's Creed. I would say that was my favorite gaming series. Because I played 1 through 3 and then Revelation, Brotherhood, and then Revelations. And I I just stopped gaming. It wasn't until 2020 or 2019 when I got a Switch during a Black Friday deal. I think Jay and I got ours at the same time.
Yeah.
And he got Pokemon Sword and I got Pokemon Shield. We never had our big battle, so that'll forever be in the written. But no,
Yeah.
I just think my gaming years were really where I'm like focused, where I'm playing. I just feel like sadly it's over. That's something that just passed me a while, like years ago. I may not play this, not out of interest, just because where my life is at right now in the moment. But I did play Vice City on the PS2. I did play it on one of my older cousins' PS2, and I can say I had so much fun as a little kid, right? And I wish I shouldn't have been playing that game, but I
Yeah.
think that was all of us, right? No, I really enjoyed that game, and I'm almost happy to see probably one of the biggest, one of the the main most popular cities, right? Replicated again, or we're coming back to it. So that is like exciting, and I know that's gonna make a lot of gamers, a lot of people who love that original PS2 game, super excited for it. But you're right. Each time there was a GTA game that came out, there was almost a whole revolution, just excitement about it. Like when the PS3 came out, and right, and then we had GTA 4, right, in Liberty City, I believe it was. So just each game was a phenomenon, and I'm excited to see how the world almost in a way revolves around GTA 6 coming up. But yeah, what about you guys?
It's funny because I wouldn't
Mhm.
consider myself like a die-hard GTA fan. I have
Yeah.
played every game in the
Hmm.
installment, and I wouldn't say I've even completed them all in terms of mission, but like what makes GTA so fun? It's like you hop in the car, you drive around, you do some dumb things,
Yep.
you get 5 stars, the cops start chasing you, you cheat codes, right? Like when you think about cheat code culture, it
Yeah.
started because of GTA, right? You
Yep.
click up left a bunch of times and you get a helicopter. So I think what made GTA 5 so popular was the birth of online play, right?
Hmm.
2013 is when people started getting to next gen. 2014 console, the PS4 console,
Hmm.
people started making more PCs, things like that, and you were really able to like
Hmm.
hop on and do the same things you were able to do in the original GTA's, but now you can do it with your friends. I think I saw something crazy back in the pandemic, which is, funny enough how I met Steve. We started gaming again, right?
Yeah.
Because of Warzone.
Hmm.
And I think at some point GTA 5 was making $1 million a day. So of course they had no motivation to make GTA 6. I mean, if
Yeah.
if you're making $1 million a day for 365 days a year, I mean, there's no need to make the sixth game, right? And it's crazy because this game, we just got a trailer it's still going to release in 2025. So, there's still a whole year of people grinding out GTA 5. The story looks incredible. Some of the shots, I'm thinking of the one where she's in the prison and you're looking outside. I mean, it looks like a movie. It looks
Yeah.
realistic. Me and Brandon are both from South Florida. I went to school and lived in Miami for several years. Steve, you just visited Miami, actually.
Yes, I did.
And I can tell you right now, I saw someone, a popular Miami Twitter guy, kind of break down some of the shots. It's very hyper realistic. I
It
mean,
is,
down
yeah.
to some of the buildings, down to the fact that you need a sun pass in the damn game to get on the toll roads. I mean, it looks incredible. Just
Yeah.
as someone who lived in Miami, I'm a huge Miami sports fan. So, I have a love for the city, despite not being from there. I lived an hour from Miami growing up, so
Mhm.
I'm very familiar with the city, and I kind of have this nostalgic feel for the game because,
Mhm.
I mean, you pass the Miami Heat arena, like it's all in there. So,
Yep.
I'm really, really excited for this game in terms of the Miami aspect. I'm really excited for this game in terms of it's been 10 years since we got a new GTA.
Mhm.
Um, and just overall the graphics. I mean, it all looks incredible. The trailer was hilarious. I'm sorry, like the girl twerking on the car and putting it on
It's
TikTok
classic
Live.
Miami, right?
Right? It's
Yeah.
funny.
Classic South Beach.
Well, it's funny you say that because someone commented on the trailer and said people are joking about the girl twerking on the car. I just left the airport an hour ago and I'm on South Beach and I saw some girl twerking on a car and he posted a video of it. And and everyone's like,
Oh my god.
they really just nailed it. I mean, there's even a scene
Yeah.
in there where a guy's trying to get an alligator out of his pool. That is as Florida as it gets.
I mean, you also see like the Telemundo or Univision like news stuff where it's in
Yeah,
Spanish
right.
with the live ticker or with the lower third, sorry, graphic. It's just so funny to me. Like you even go by like some chicken farms that must be probably like, little Havana or something, but
Yeah.
just so much memery that I'm like, oh my God, someone like that I grew up in South Florida, just also now we're from Miami. It's like, oh man, all the memes are just in there already for it. I feel like only that group of people are really gonna enjoy and get all of this, but I think everyone's gonna enjoy this definitely.
So our native Florida gentleman here, you know, whether you get the game or not, do you think
Mhm.
we will see Winwood Walls in the game?
Yeah, I imagine that's
I
too
think
popular of a.
so. Yeah, there's a
Yeah,
lot of nightclubs there, so I would say yes. Yeah.
I will say this.
Hmm.
I saw a breakdown or someone posted a picture of, back when they announced GTA 6, someone posted a picture. This is going to be the biggest GTA map they've ever done, which is
Yeah.
why it's taking so long to develop the game. This game is going to be massive, and they know that's because of that online community, right? The GTA online community is huge. I have little cousins that are still playing this game, GTA 5 that is. So when 6 comes out, I mean they understand the need for a much bigger map with so many players in the game, right?
Hmm.
So I'll try to find the picture and send it to you guys. But yeah, I mean the map compared to other maps of old GTA games, it's double the size.
Yep.
Yeah. I hope we see the Everglades as a playable
That's gonna be
area.
incredible.
There's got to be a
But
cheat code for an airboat, right?
there will be. There will be.
Do they still do cheat
They
codes in
gotta do that.
GTA? I don't know.
They gotta do airboats. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're gonna end the show on some MCU news. I wanted to touch upon the Marvels. Look, I have not seen it,
Mhm.
and you guys may be wondering why am I commenting on a movie I've not seen. Well, we make the rules here, so we're just gonna talk about it. And uh, the reason we wanted to talk about the Marvels because it is currently has recently ended its run um as the lowest box office total in the MCU.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
it's quite honestly shocking, but also not shocking. In one way, you can look at it and like say, well, the last Captain Marvel, while it made a lot of money, wasn't the most warmest received, and people really had some issues with Brie Larson, who is a wonderful actress. Um,
Mhm.
I mean, she's an Oscar winner,
Mhm.
but at the same time, a lot of MCU fanboys, did not like her as Captain Marvel. Um, and so in that regard, and plus it's been 3 years since the 3, 4 years since the last Captain Marvel came out, so
Mhm.
it's hard to really gauge what the fuck happened in that movie and then go into
Yep.
this new movie and almost have to be expected to know kind of the lore, or not the lore, but the string of events that happened in the last movie. So in that regard, I would say it's not a surprise that this movie kind of fell on itself. At the same time, this is still the MCU, and to see a movie that cost reportedly $275 million make a little over 180 million in the box
Mhm.
office,
Yep.
it's shocking. And I just want to know what does this mean for the MCU? Brandon, your thoughts?
Yeah. So I think I'm the only person in the circle who's watched the movie. Honestly,
You can
I
spoil it. I don't care.
I
Yeah.
and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the movie. I enjoyed it. I think it was fun. But you can almost tell with Brie Larson that number one, it could be a thing of her not caring about the role. Number two, feel like the MCU writers had not given that character a lot of love. At the same time,
Mhm.
it's just more, and Iman Vellani did fantastic. Her family, right? Her parents who were in the Miss Marvel show, who were fantastic, were also in this movie, and they were the stars. Just even the three of them. It's just something about, I believe, the passion with some of these characters as well. I know we spoke about just movie fatigue, not only with the MCU, but like a new Indiana Jones movie that was very unnecessary, right? I think we're just in an era where
That's a good
blockbusters, where
point.
industries want to burst out what we have currently, not any more original things. So I think we're just in a little bit of a fatigue with current IPs and not just necessarily the MCU. It is a little concerning, and I think a lot of this may have to do with just the negativity that we have with recent MCU titles just not being that good, right? Just let's be very honest. Uh, we were just, if we look back from before Endgame, we were in an era where almost every MCU movie was good with a couple of misses. It's almost switch, right? Where it's like it might be almost all misses and then just a couple of hits. So it's a difficult era. I'm a stand that I've always loved the MCU and I believe it could get back to its high feet. It's just I just think this was a movie came in worrying with, I don't want to say Brie Larson is at fault, but I feel like that negativity around the MCU biggest fans around her. And yeah, you're right. She's a fantastic actress. Um, but I don't think she's doing Oscar worthy things anymore, right? We see her in Fast and Furious where she just wants to be in the big blockbusters now. Is this a little bit of her? Is this a little bit about the writing? It's just something that we may not see some of these characters just because they don't care. But I don't know. It's really it's there's a lot of factors that go into this. I know we have a little bit over 6 minutes, but I'll bring it over to Jay on his thoughts. Apart than just the post-credit scene, which I think that's people are talking about that more than the actual film, which says a lot.
I think, the first Captain Marvel kind of came out in the era where Marvel was must see, right? Like
Yep.
everyone
Yeah.
was in there the first weekend. You wanted to
Post
avoid
Infinity War.
right, and you wanted to
Yep.
even a little before Infinity War, right? Like you wanted to not be spoiled. You wanted to know what the post credit scene was. And then
Hmm.
Infinity War does a great job of teasing her, right? In the post credit
Yep.
scene, Nick Fury
Yeah.
hits the thing, and you see her logo, and you're like, "Oh my god, I got to go see Captain Marvel now! I can't wait for it."
Right.
And then
Yep.
you go to it, and I believe it's the last movie before Endgame, right? Like
Mhm.
everyone's so excited for Captain Marvel to
Yep.
now be part of Endgame. The post credit scene of that movie is her talking to Black Widow, where's Fury, and you're like, okay, like this is a character I can care about. And
Yep.
now, some of it's that fatigue, some of it's like I didn't watch Miss Marvel, the TV show,
Hmm.
and I only know about Monica Rambeau. Is that the daughter's name, right?
I
From
believe so.
you know,
Yep,
Yes, I
Monica.
believe
It's
so.
Monica, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Maria
Yeah.
Rambeau is
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 the one
The
from
plays
Miss
her
mom.
Marvel,
mother,
Yeah. The mom. Yeah. You're correct.
and that's a
played
great
by
example of
Lashana Lynch.
it's been
Hmm.
3 years since I've seen Captain Marvel, right? So I don't remember that. But like Monica, you meet in the she gets her powers in the uh,
WandaVision. Yeah.
WandaVision show, and
Hmm.
it's like, okay, well, I kind of forgot that happened. Like, why is she a part of this? So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm truthfully just I'm a little fatigued. I'm a little fatigued, and it's one of those movies that when I saw the trailer, I said I'm waiting for streaming. I'm not going to go see
And
it in
no,
theaters.
and I think you bring up really good points, and I think it just comes down to everything that was set up towards this movie. I think even like you mentioned, right? I think things were really set up really well for Captain Marvel, right? Captain Marvel was set up and the game really well. I just don't think we saw the setup for this really well, where Monica Rambeau, she was met up with one of the scrolls and they're like, "Hey, look up, we're gonna go up." And, at the end of WandaVision, but we saw nothing in the middle, and that's kind of what I think angers a lot of people, that we're just not seeing a lot of that connection. We're kind of just jumping straight into it. The only one that had that really good main factor was Miss Marvel.
Before we run
Yeah,
out of time here, I want to ask
Yeah,
you guys,
yeah,
do you need a reason to go see Marvel movies nowadays? Like, for instance, I loved Guardians 3. I thought it's maybe the best project that
yeah,
Marvel's dropped in
yeah.
since, Endgame,
Mhm.
maybe. It's almost like I wanted to go see it because I knew it was James Gunn's last hurrah.
Yeah,
Like I almost feel like I need a reason to go see a Marvel movie nowadays.
yeah,
I feel like kind of one of the issues is you're trying to sell us on some non-heavy hitters.
mhm.
The main top three billing in the Marvels movie is Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, and I don't even know who Monica Rambeau. What hero is she? Photon, I
Right.
believe her name
She
is.
doesn't have a. I don't think
Yeah.
they haven't released her name or she has that yet.
So it's like,
Yeah,
okay, this is the problem, in my opinion.
yeah,
You had a huge 10 years of Robert Downey Jr., Chris Hemsworth,
mhm,
Hmm.
Ruffalo, Chris Evans, and now you're trying
yeah,
to make $1 billion of a movie. This is a bad way to put it because it was the characters. You had Iron Man, Hulk, Captain America, Black
Right.
Panther. Captain Marvel is not it's not A-list. It's not A-list. And
no,
they're trying hard with Ant-Man, Captain Marvel in terms of making, that MCU magic again. And this is my problem with the MCU. It's like, they make a shitty movie, but then they give you that end credit scene and they're like, "Oh, well, just, here's a little sneak peek of what our next movie could be. Just forget that we
yeah,
had this,
It,
shit show of
right.
a movie."
I will just say maybe this is just movie culture in general. Cameo
Mhm.
culture. We've talked a lot about it on this
Yep,
show
we
in
have.
general.
Yeah,
I mean, those post-credit scene, we'll go ahead and spoil it. Three, two, one. You had your chance to leave. Beast from the original X-Men, and then they set up the Young Avengers, which I could only find that post-credit scene in Japanese, so I don't even know what it was said in English. So I just
mm,
don't know. Like it's cameo culture, right? This is happening in a
yeah,
lot of movies, and it's almost like we're kind of going into it just knowing what's going to happen, and I don't really
yeah.
care to do that anymore. I don't really care to just be there and be like, oh my god, I'm so surprised Mephisto showed up. I don't know. It is
Hey,
what it
that bastard better finally show up after one division.
is.
Oh boy. Well, we'll end it there. I have a lot of thoughts on the MCU.
Yeah.
We'll
Mhm.
definitely have more episodes on it because it's still a
Right.
very important part of movies and culture and whatnot. But thank you
Mhm.
everybody for listening to the episode. Follow us on socials, Balls Deep Cinema. And yeah, we'll be back soon. There's a lot of great stuff. Like the content's booming right now.
Yeah.
We obviously have our
Godzilla
takes.
minus one. We talked about
Hey,
Godzilla.
we
Oh
gotta
my
talk
God, I
about
want
it,
to see
man.
that
We've
so
got
bad.
to. Yeah.
Honest to God, we can make that happen. I think for our next episode, don't hold us to this, ladies and gentlemen, but we might be exploring Godzilla minus one because it's getting fantastic reviews. But
Mhm.
It is.
I'm Steven. That's Jay. That's Brandon. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.
All right, have a good night, everyone.
Have a good one.